Welcome Algebra students who are first-time users of a TI-84 calculator. We want you to do more than add, subtract, multiply, and divide with this, and if you are a statistics student or a calculus student, then there are going to be other series that might be more useful to you. But for algebra students, this is going to be a 3-part series on how to use this giant thing. It's not a paperweight. You might have a black and white version, you might have a color version, and you're going to get some chords. And I think you should keep those chords, but if you really don't want to and you know me IRL, then please bring them to me because I will provide them for other people who also didn't think they needed the chords. You can follow along with the keys that I'm pressing because they will turn red on my interface, and also you can see my key press history in the bottom right. To turn this calculator on, you hit the on button down in the bottom left corner. To turn your calculator off, it's second, up here, high on the left, and then down here, the same on button in the bottom left corner. Now, mine won't turn off, yours will. But when I want to check the memory, second and plus will give me MEM. You see that MEM is in blue, and that means that in order to get there, you have to press the blue second button first. Now that I'm in there, I want to see about. On a color calculator, then these numbers will be ever changing for a while. On a black and white calculator, it should say 2.55 MP, and if it doesn't say that and you know me IRL, come visit me. The last thing is anytime that there's something on my screen and I don't want to be doing that, I want to get back to my home screen instead, the way you do that is second and mode, which is your quit key. Negative and minus are two different keys. If I want negative 17 plus 9, that should be negative 8. But if I type the wrong thing, the correct thing would be down here using this negative right here. But if I instead type minus 17 plus 9, it will give me something else. Now you see that A and S on the screen, that means whatever my previous answer was. I happen to type in 2 pi as my previous entry, so therefore it's taking 2 pi and then subtracting 17 plus 9. A minus has to be a binary operator, has to go between two things, but it recognizes, this calculator recognizes the negative as showing that a number is on the left side of that number line. So negative 17 plus 9 will give you the negative 8 that you're looking for. This calculator works nicely with fractions. If I want the fraction key, I use alpha, y equals, and enter. So one of the fun things here is that if my fractions are entirely numerical, I don't have any x's or y's or any other variable in there, plus alpha, y equals, and enter. We're going to say that a whole lot. And let's make up something else, 11 over 15, something like that. If you were in a previous course, then you would have had to find a least common denominator and all of that. However, the least common denominator would be 30. We can have a great discussion about why the least common denominator is 30, but when you're adding two numerical fractions, then it gives you back a fractional answer. And right here, it gave back a fractional answer that was an improper one, which is often how my math lab or whatever you're using expects you to answer. So it'll do those nice things for you. Another thing is that if you were to type, let's say, 21 divided by 14, something like that, it gave you a decimal answer, but if you want to type in 21 and then you use your fraction key, 14, it'll give you the fraction answer. They mean the same thing, but which one are you expected to answer? Let's say that you meant to type 21 over 14, but you accidentally typed 21 divided by 14. So if you had the 21 divided by 14, and you think to yourself, oh, I meant fraction bar. Oh no, no worries, hit math, enter, enter. It will convert your decimals back to fractions as long as there is a fraction that means the same thing. Suppose you have to find the slope between these 2 points. Now the slope formula is a fraction just by its very nature, but also now we have fractions that are going to be embedded in other fractions. I dare say we even have complex fractions, but if you commit to using the fraction key, you will be fine. So alpha y equals enter, that's going to be your big fraction, the one that's in your slope formula. So y2 minus y1 would be a negative, don't type minus, -5, and then minus half. And then you go down here, over x2 minus x1, alpha y equals and enter, 7/3, minus a -1. We can type in minus a -1 if we want to. You could also type in, go back here and fix that. You can type in minus a -1, but you could also type in +1 if you so desire. And you get a slope that is a fraction in its most reduced form. But commit to the fraction key. Because if you just use this one, what I see a lot of is this minus 0.5, because that's a half, over 7 divided by 3 plus 1. And you get something like that. And that is not what you needed unless your instructions were to provide the decimal answer for your slope. But if they wanted a fraction, let me backtrack and say, you're going to have to force it to be a fraction, one way or the other. It's also really nice keeping the order of operations stuff together. Now, you can raise to any power you want. So I can say 4 raised to the 7th power. You see that caret key right there? And it looks nice and pretty on that screen. But I could also say things like 9 raised to the 0.23 power. You get all kinds of stuff now. That is where we sometimes refer to it as the caret key, but that's what's going to give you an exponent. To segue out of exponents and into roots, I will also point out that you have this key right here to show how to square something. It requires only one key instead of 2, and that's where we're going to go to get our square roots. So if I want to take the square root of 169, so I hit second and then that key right there, and that gives me a square root of 169. Again, I'm going to clear my key press history for you. It's second, and then the button that says x squared on it. So the square root of 729. Things like that. If you want a cube root, there are several ways you could accomplish this. One of my favorites is to go to math, number 4, and that will give you the cube root. So the cube root of 1331. But you could take any root that you want. For example, if you wanted the 7th root of 128, then you would first type in the 7, go to the math menu. Number 5 says the xth root of something, and watch what happens when I press number 5. It pops that 7 up into the index. So of 128, and there you have it. So you have square roots, cube roots, any roots that you want. And you can get even more creative with it, but we'll get to that. Something that this calculator will not do for you is give you a simplified radical on this home screen. So for example, if I wanted to look at the square root of 50, it will not tell me a simplified version of that radical. Now, I may understand that that is the same thing as 5 square roots of 2, which is a skill that you absolutely should have. But what I will expect you to do is, even if it will not give you the same answer, or won't give it to you in its simplified form, I want you to type in both versions, both the version before you simplified and after you simplified, and make sure that they're at least mathematically equivalent. A calculator is not supposed to replace your brain, but a calculator is supposed to be a discovery tool. Now let's put some of those skills together. The actual context here, I will save that for class, because right now we are talking about calculatory kinds of things. So we have a formula, we have things to plug into this formula. First of all, I'm going to plug in the p-value, which is 15785. My parentheses are above my 8 and 9, so I say 1 plus, and notice how when I'm typing, then I'm typing over my previous character. It doesn't insert like a regular keyboard would. I'm going to use the fraction key to be fancy, but you don't need to use the fraction key here because there's no way I could get a fraction answer. I'm going to get a decimal answer. So, fancy fraction key just for fun. 0.025 over 4. You get out of here and then you close it. You raise it to the 4 times 17 power. One of the nice things about using all of these tools is that it has our grouping symbols the same way that we care about the order of operations, then it will hold together things nicely in their proper groups. What if you need to edit something? So I have changed my interest rate to 4%, and I have also changed the number of times compounding in the year to 12. The context of that should be given in class. This is just a quick calculator thing. So I can go back, I can reach up and I can edit that. You see how I highlighted it? I can delete by using this key right here. Delete, delete. It's 4% now. There are two places where my n is. One of them I can write over top of that 4, 12. Up here, I can't just write over top of that 12, write the over top of that 4 and make it a 12, because if I do, then I'm going to have to finish the whole rest of the line again because it'll write over my multiplication symbol. So I have one character, I need a second one. If I want to insert, instead of using my delete key, I'm going to hit second and insert, and then it will let me insert a character. And just because I like to end with this, and whenever you are in the wrong spot, I don't want to be here, I just want to get back to my home screen, the way you do that is second mode, and that is how you quit. So second and mode, that is your quit. Clear. Clear can sometimes get you there, but it will sometimes delete stuff that you didn't want to delete. So more on that later. Anyway, stay tuned for part 2. It's about graphing.